Hello everyone. Today we are going to learn the concept of SUMIF and SUMIFS functionality in Microsoft Excel. So let us start. So as you can see the data over here, let us have a quick understanding about this data. It is a data representing month, employee name, location and sales. Okay. Now we have to apply the SUMIF in this data. So for example, if I want to see the total sales generated only for Delhi location, then how we will proceed? So let us understand when to use SUMIF. SUMIF is used when there is a condition. When there is a condition and you want a sum, that means sum with condition. You want a sum but with condition. For example, if I do a sum of the total sales, for example, how to do that? Equal to SUM sum. So to write any function, the starting step will be to first write equal to, then write that function and take the functions from the suggestions given by the Excel. So you can see the moment I am typing S, the function starting from S will start popping up here. Then the moment I am writing SU, the functionalities starting with SU will start popping up here. The moment I am writing SUM, the functionalities starting with SUM will start coming here. So it is always advisable to take it from the suggestions given by the Excel. Okay, why? Because if you don't take it and you just write SUM and then you put enter, you will get this type of error. To prevent yourself from the name error, you have to always take the function from the suggestions given by the Excel. Either do double click or press tab key. Okay. Now this is the syntax of sum. Number one, number two, that is whatever is written inside the bracket that are known as argument. So first, if I take number one, that means I will keep my cursor here and I will press Control Shift down arrow to select it all, Control Shift down arrow to select it all, and Shift 0 for closing the bracket, enter. Now, this is the amount. This is the amount. I have used this comma to make it more clear so that we can be able to judge the number whether it is in lakhs or thousands. So it is like 13 lakhs 62,400. So this amount is a representative of all the location. What are those? Delhi, Hyderabad and Bangalore. Whereas I want some for Delhi. For example, this one. Revenue for Delhi. So it is very specific and it is representing all the location. So it is a condition. Now we have a condition. What is the condition? Delhi. So if any condition comes, so the concept of if will come into picture, if. If you have to do a sum and a condition is there, that means the concept of sum if will come into picture. Likewise, if you have to do count, but a condition is there, so again, the concept of if will come into picture. That will be technically known as count if. So for one condition, when there is only one condition, the concept of if will come into picture. If there are more than one condition, then concept of IFS, some ifs will come into picture, which we will learn after having a clarity on some. Okay, so let us now get back to the same question. I want the total for Delhi location. Now I hope we are clear that we can't do with the help of sum because it's a very generic function. It represents all the location. It is not representing the thing that we are looking for. So we are looking for Delhi location. So how to do that? Equal to SUMIF. So first I will write equal to, then I will write SUMIF. 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 Then tab. Now this is the syntax for SUMIF. Now let us learn briefly about it. It is asking for range, criteria and sum range. Now let us understand one by one. Range, criteria and sum range. Criteria is nothing but the condition. So it is having range, criteria, sum range. Now, what is criteria? Criteria is nothing but the condition. Criteria is nothing but the condition. What is the condition over here? Delhi. So Delhi is the condition. Now, range. Let us understand range. The literal meaning of range is nothing but a set of information. For example, if we see This is also a range because it is representing the set of information about month. This is also a range because it is representing the set of information pertaining to employee name. It is also a range because it is representing the set of information pertaining to location. It is also the range because it is depicting the sales value over here. Okay, so here in the syntax of SUMIFs, range, criteria, and some range was there. Some range will be this only. Why? Because as you know, sum means sum will always be of a number, right? For example, if I am standing here and I am pressing Control Shift down arrow, and you can see down below average, count, and sum will come only for what? Numbers. If I take my cursor here and if I am doing Control Shift down arrow, here I am getting only count because you can't take the sum of a text, right? You can't take a sum of a text because Excel at the back end and by its very basic nature is a number-based program. It is a number-based program. So that is why whenever you are taking your cursor to a number and doing Control Shift down arrow, you are getting this value. So likewise, it should be very clear over here that some range will always be of a number range. Now let us understand what is this range. To understand this range, we should first be very clear about the criteria. Criteria is nothing but the condition, and range, as I told, range. So this is a range. It is not a sum range. So either it will be this or this. So how to trace it? So for tracing it, you have to first figure out the criteria. Criteria is condition, which is Delhi in this case. You have to figure out Delhi is in column B, C or D. Delhi is in D. So this will be the range. So let me repeat it again. The syntax of SUMIF equal to SUMIF. This is syntax. The way a function is written, that is syntax. So range, comma, criteria, comma, sum range. This is syntax. And range, criteria, sum range, these are known as argument. We have to follow the argument in order to get correct result in Microsoft Excel. So first it is asking range. But I said to figure out the range, you have to be very clear about the criteria. Criteria is nothing but the condition. So you have to see what is the condition. Then based on where that condition is located, you have to select that range. So we can say range is where the condition is located. In our case, it is for revenue for Delhi. So equal to SUMIF if you are doing. So range will be where Delhi is located. Criteria as the case is, it is a condition, so that is Delhi. Then some range will be this sales range because as I told, some range will always be a number range. So that you have to be very clear about it. Okay, so range. I will take my cursor here where the Delhi is located. Here, Control Shift down arrow is the shortcut key for selecting the range. Then comma. So now criteria. So you have to be also be very careful about the this syntax because you have to follow it in order to get the correct result. So range, here it is comma. So I have also mentioned comma. Now criteria. So criteria is a bold, that means it is an active argument now. So Delhi. Select it. Then again comma, sum range. Sum range is this. Control Shift down arrow, then close the bracket by pressing Shift 0. Enter. So this is the result you are getting for revenue for Delhi. Likewise, if you want to take for revenue for Hyderabad, how to do? So we can't do with sum. Why? Because sum is a generic function. It is a specific requirement is for Hyderabad. So how to do? Now the concept of SUMIF will come because Hyderabad only we want to see the revenue and Hyderabad is a condition over here. So equal to SUMIF, take it from the suggestion given by the Excel by pressing tab, range. Range is where the criteria is located and criteria is Hyderabad. So you have to figure out where Hyderabad is located. So Hyderabad in our case is located in B, C, D, E. Yes, it's located in D. Yes, here it is. So take your cursor here, Control Shift down arrow for selecting it, then comma. Now criteria is an active argument. So you can either just select the cell reference and there is no condition that you have to select it from here. You can select it anywhere between this range because Excel is capable enough to trace Hyderabad. Either you can select from top or bottom or middle, that is your wish. Right? Even if I select it from here, still it will work the same way. Then sometimes if you don't want to give the cell reference, there is one more way out. You can write it also, but you have to write in the double quotation. Double quotation, Hyderabad. You can write in this way. Okay, why double quotation? Why I am using double quotation? Because Excel at the backend, by its very basic nature, is a number-based program, and Hyderabad is a text. To make the text recognizable in the eyes of Excel, you have to use double quotation. That's how this program works, Hyderabad. And it is not case sensitive. That means you can write in capital, you can write in small. For example, let me write in the caps only to have a better clarity. Only thing is the spelling which is mentioned over here, that spelling has to be exactly the same. I mean, so here the spelling is this only. So I have just written that way. So comma, now sum range is active argument. So you have to take your cursor here, control shift down arrow, shift 0 for closing the bracket, enter. You're getting the same result, right? And let me do it with a cell reference equal to sum if tab range. Range is where the criteria is located. Criteria is Hyderabad. So here it is. Control shift down arrow, comma. Select Hyderabad from anywhere. I am selecting it from here. Then again, comma. Now sum range will be this. Control shift down arrow, bracket close, enter. So you can see the results are same. So it's your wish. Make sure when you are writing a text, you have to put in the double quotation. It's not case sensitive. You can write in caps or small letter. Only make sure that the spelling is exactly the same as mentioned in the data. I hope till now we are clear with it. Now let us learn this concept. Revenue for all location except Hyderabad. That means we don't want for Hyderabad. So how to write in the function? So that we have to learn. So for that, equal to say sum if tab range. Range is where except Hyderabad means we want to see for Delhi and Bangalore, right? So where it is located? It is located here. So we will select. But only problem is how you are going to write this except Hyderabad in the criteria. Can you write like this? Double quotation. Except Hyderabad. Can you write like this? No, right? Because Excel won't be able to recognize it because Excel at the backend is a number-based function and this is a completely a text. So this is not how we have to write. So sum range, as the case maybe it will be this. So we have to learn how to write this except Hyderabad in this functionality to make it recognizable in the eyes of Excel. So for that, let us take a small example. If I am saying, as per your interpretation, what is the meaning of less than 2? Less than 2 means what? Less than 2 means 1, 0 and all negatives. Correct. Likewise, if I say what is the interpretation of greater than 2, that means 3 and all positives. Okay. Now, my question is, in both these cases, that is less than 2 and greater than 2, is 2 included? No, 2 is not included. So, in both these situations, 2 is not included. So, can I write it in this way? Less than greater than 2. So, this also represents all number except 2. Because here also, if you notice very carefully in both the cases, we have taken into consideration all the number except 2. So, here also same thing, all number except 2. Okay, so this is how it will be. So how to write it? So less than greater than 2 is a representative of all number except 2. So in our case, we have to write for except Hyderabad. So how to do that? Less than greater than Hyderabad. The spelling should be exactly the same as mentioned in the data. So this is how you have to write it in your main functionality. So how to do it? This, let us see that equal to sum if tab range. Range is where the criteria is located. Criteria is except Hyderabad. So it is somewhere located here only. So control shift down arrow, then comma. Now criteria. How to write it? You have to be very careful. Double quotation, less than greater than Hyderabad. Then double quotation close. Then again comma. Sum range will be this. Control shift down arrow, bracket close, enter. You are getting this result. So I hope we are clear with the concept of sum. Now let us solve this question. Revenue for Hyderabad generated in January month. So here, first of all, we have to be very careful that here there are two conditions. One is Hyderabad and another is we want to see for January month. So here there are two conditions, and when there is more than one condition, as we discussed, the concept of IFS will come into picture. So we want to see the sum only. So this time we have to use what? Sum ifs. So equal to sum ifs. Now let us understand the syntax. First, it is asking sum range, then criteria range 1, comma, criteria 1. See, sum range, criteria range 1, comma, criteria 1, criteria range 2, comma, criteria 2. So this criteria range 1 has to be read as range 1. So, comma, criteria 1. So this function is a very amazing function because you can see multiple criteria you can take into account. That means multiple condition you can take into account. On the other hand, if you analyze sum if very carefully, here you can take into account only one condition, right? So whenever these two condition thing will come, so you have to be very clear that you can't use sum if. You have to use what? Sum if. So because sum ifs is that functionality which is capable enough to take into account the multiple condition. Condition we say in the general language, but in the language of Excel, Excel call it criteria. Excel call it criteria. Okay. Now here also we have to be very careful. See, we know sum range. Sum range will be some number range only. Criteria range 1 you have to figure out. So what is criteria range 1 will be the range 1 where criteria 1 is located, right? So let us do it. So first it is asking for revenue for Hyderabad generated in Jan. So sum range it is asking. So sum range will be this, control shift down arrow, comma, criteria range 1. So this will be where your criteria 1 is located, and you can do it interchangeably. That means it is not a hard and fast rule that first Hyderabad is written. So you have to also do keep a check for Hyderabad and select Hyderabad. You can do for Jan also. So let me do it for Jan, right? So the question is, the syntax is, you have to always follow the syntax in order to get the correct result. If you don't follow this, then you won't be able to get a correct result. So criteria range 1 is where criteria 1 is located. Let me say it again that I have taken Jan as a criteria 1. So let me see where Jan is located. That will be the range. Jan is located in D? No. C? No. It is located in B. Yes. So I will do select here, control shift down arrow, then comma. I will select January. Select it from anywhere. Then again comma. Now criteria range 2 is where criteria 2 is located. I have taken Hyderabad as a criteria 2. Now I have to figure out where is this Hyderabad here. It is in column D. So this you have to be very careful because we have seen people choosing wrong range and then they are not able to get the correct result. So the trick is always keep in mind the criteria, and based on criteria select the range. Select the range, then again comma. Now the criteria is Delhi. Because what we have seen with many people is, for example, they are selecting the range correctly. But when they have to give the criteria, they might give some other criteria, maybe Mr. Ajay. So what Excel will do at the back end, it will search Ajay in this particular column. So which it will not get, and end of the day, you won't be able to get the correct result. So be very careful about it. Be very careful about selecting the range. Range is always be decided upon the criteria. Okay, so now this sum range, everything we have taken into account. Now close the bracket by pressing shift 0, then enter. So this is the answer you are getting for revenue for Hyderabad generated in January. So to get more clarity, let us take one more example. Revenue for Mr. Vijay generated in Hyderabad. So first let us see how many conditions are there. Mr. Vijay is one condition. Let me highlight it. Hyderabad location is another condition. So first question is whether sum if or sum ifs, because more than one condition, so sum ifs will come into picture. So equal to sum ifs. Take it from the session given by the Excel by pressing tab or double click. Sum range. Follow the syntax always. Sum range. Keep your cursor here, control shift down arrow, then comma. Now criteria range 1 has to be decided based upon the criteria. Criteria range 1 to be read as range 1. Criteria 1 is Mr. Vijay. So you have to figure out where Mr. Vijay is. Here it is. Yes, here it is. So this will be the range. Control shift down arrow. Then comma. Criteria 1. Criteria 1 is Mr. Vijay. So I will select it here. Then again comma. Now the second condition is Hyderabad. So you have to figure out where Hyderabad is located. It is located in column T. So this will be the range. So the range selection has to be very careful. And for that you have to take an eye on the syntax. So this is the syntax. Whatever is written inside this bracket, they are known as argument. Whichever is bold, that is known as active argument. So you have to keep an eye on this particular thing. So once you select it, then press comma, right? Now criteria 2 is mentioned over here, which is Hyderabad in our case. So select Hyderabad and then close the bracket by pressing Shift 0 and enter. So I hope the concept is clear. So let me just sum up for you. So the entire summary lies in this particular fact that you have to be very, very clear whether the question is asking you for the condition. Whenever the condition will come into picture, the concept of if will come into picture. Now, after that, you have to see whether there is a one condition or more than one. If one, use SUMIF. If more than one, then take the help of SUMIFs. So in the sum if or SUMIFs, the main challenge is selection of range. So always remember, range is where the criteria is located. Criteria you have to see based on the question. Every question will have different criteria, and likewise you are working in the corporate, so you may be having different conditions to work with. And yes, we have to work with the conditions throughout our journey. So that you have to be a bit careful about, and based on the condition, select the range. Right? Based on the condition, you have to select the range. And in the case of SUMIFs, the criteria range 1, you have to remember that it has to be read as range 1 only. And then range 1 will be where the criteria 1 is located. So this is all about the sum and SUMIF functionality. Kindly practice this for better clarity. Thanks for watching this session. Thank you.